Hey, friend, Edmund here, and welcome to Live Stream Wednesday, coming to you from Walpole, Massachusetts, and streaming on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and on livestreamwednesday.com. And I'm really excited to have on the show today Kathleen Lawson. Kathleen is a business strategist, and she has a MBA from Babson College and is experienced in marketing, operations, sales, coaching, business strategy across several different industries. She helps service-based entrepreneurs put structure and routines in place in order to achieve their goals and implement their vision. And the way we met is through a dear friend of mine who's been working with her, and she's loved the coaching and services that she's provided. So Kathleen, welcome to the show. So glad to have you here.
Thank you, Ed. I'm excited to be here.
That's awesome. So let's just jump right in. You work with entrepreneurs. I know you work with them in small groups and one-on-one. Tell us a little bit how you got started doing this work.
Well, it's kind of interesting. I kind of came into this this world on the operations side. I kind of had it in my head that I was going to help entrepreneurs sort of run the back end of their business. I had all this experience in marketing and operations. And so I got my first couple of clients. And when I said, okay, like, what do we want to do? Their response was, well, I'm not really sure what I'm doing. Like, I kind of want to get over here, but I don't know how to get over there. And so I started doing a lot of this strategy and planning with them. And pretty quickly, I kind of shifted into this side of things. And it's just sort of evolved as I've worked with people and I've seen what different entrepreneurs need and the different kind of pain points and the gaps and what they were trying to do. And so my business has sort of evolved as I've worked with different people.
Yeah, awesome. So I know one of the things that you work on with business people, and I love this because it's just my nature to be this way, is goal setting, right? Yeah. So tell us a little bit about that. How, when business owners come to you, they're probably not looking to set goals, but I know that's one of the things you help them do. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, that part of things happened because I was sort of diving into the planning and I was doing some project management, and I quickly realized I needed to sort of back up my starting point, because what was happening was that people were coming to me and they were sort of stuck in the goal setting area. And one of the biggest things that I was seeing was that people were trying to do too much at once. That was really the thing that was tripping up a lot of entrepreneurs, is that they have a ton of goals. And it makes sense when you think about it, because entrepreneurs are idea generators. They've got all these ideas. That's the fun part of things for them. Implementing them is never as much fun as coming up with them. But they would come to me with, like, all right, I have like these 3 services and this book I want to write and the podcast I want to do and this and that and all these things. And can you help me do all these? And so I was like, we can't do all that at the same time. And so I started working with them on, all right, let's prioritize. And so that's how that kind of became part of what I was focusing on. And so now when I'm working with somebody, I really want them to succeed. And so what I've learned is, like, you need to kind of pare it down. Not that you won't get to those goals later, but you kind of have to put them aside for a little bit. And so what I do is I ask them, like, what's going to make the biggest impact in your business right now? And for some people, it might be a new service or a new program that they're working on. For some people, they've got that nailed down, and it might be a marketing strategy, kind of like the stuff that you do. Or maybe they've got that down and they're at a point where they really need to work on the back end of their business and kind of work on becoming more efficient so that they can serve their clients. So we look at what's going to make the biggest impact and we prioritize that way. And then we say, all right, this is what we're going to work on right now. And I like to work in short-term goal setting. So we do like 12 weeks, 90 days, that kind of thing. And so, like, this is what we're going to work on for the next 90 days. And it's like 1, 2, or no more than really 3 things, depending on how big it is. Sometimes it's only one goal we can really focus on because it's just like something really huge, or maybe it's a couple of little things, and that's what we focus on. And so prioritizing that helps us and helps them to really focus in and execute on that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I love the whole 12-week concept. So I have to ask you this. I know we have a ton of business people that listen to this. Give me like one or two of your best goal setting tips, or tips around that.
Okay. So first thing is the 12 weeks. I really recommend that you set goals for 12 weeks, because what happens when a lot of people will try and set annual goals, and sometimes depending on the business you're in, you may have to look at things further out, but most service-based entrepreneurs don't need to. Like I really, it's very rare that I run up against somebody that needs to set something really longer term. So it's typically shorter will work. And the reason that the shorter term goals are better is, one, they're more practical. So like if we're sitting here September 22nd and you were going to set a long term, like a year-long goal, when you're starting to plan that out, I mean, how practical is it to be looking at, next March or June? I mean, you don't know what's going to be happening then. You don't know what's going to be happening in your business, your competitors, your clients. And, I think we learned that in 2020, you can't plan that far out. And the other thing is there's this sense of urgency when you can see the goalpost. So if you're setting something a year out and the first month goes by and you make no progress, how concerned are you? Not at all, because the goalpost is so far away that you can't even see it. So you're not really worried. But if you set a 12-week goal, like you can, like right now, if you're setting goals right now for 12 weeks, you're looking at the end of November, like Thanksgiving time, and you can see that, like that is not that far away. And so it really pushes you into action quickly. So that's why I like that. And then the 1 to 3 goals is a nice amount that you can actually handle. And then you've got to break it down. So that's the other problem I see a lot, or something that trips entrepreneurs up, is that if they don't break it down into a plan, they've got like this big goal, and then they don't know really, like, well, what do I do today? Like, here it is, Wednesday afternoon. What do I actually do? So when it's too big, it's overwhelming. So you've got to break that down. I like tasks that are something you can sit down and do in a sitting. Like, what can I do this afternoon? I can sit down and do this thing. And so that is going to help someone get into action when they know like exactly what they're doing. So we got to break it down to that level.
Yeah. Awesome. So, you made me think, I write books. I'm in the process of writing another one right now. And what about someone who says, okay, I want to write a book, and it's, I want to get it done with, by let's say 1 year. Do you recommend they chunk that down into those 12-week sections where, the first 12 weeks, you're going to do this part of the book, the second 12 weeks, and so on?
You can do, yeah. I mean, you can definitely do that. I actually had a woman in one of my accountability groups write a book during our group. It was this short book. And the thing for her was really figuring out the routine, like what was going to work for her. Did she write in 1 hour chunks? Did she like having a whole day to write, and kind of figuring out what was the best way for her to get that writing done. And then, and for her, we blocked a day. She was like, you know what, Wednesday's going to be my day. I'm going to work in a couple of like spurts throughout that day, and I'm not going to schedule anything else on that day. And so she really protected that day. And that's what worked for her. And every week, that was the day that she really focused on her writing. And she ended up doing some other bits of it, but that was the day. And so that was how that worked for her. So absolutely, that works. And I think like when you're doing something like that, you do have to figure out what's the best way, because everybody's different. Some people can sit down and write for hours at a time, and some people can only write for 30 minutes. So you got to figure out for you. I know there's a lot of writers too will do there's like writing groups. They'll meet online and kind of co-work, and like they know, like, all right, Monday morning I'm going to be on this thing from 9 to 10, and we're all going to sit down and write. And so I know that's helpful for a lot of writers as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Awesome advice. I love the term you use, protect the day, because that's actually what I do. I went through productivity coaching a long time ago, and just, chunking out blocks to do certain things is awesome. That's an awesome methodology. It works really, really well.
Yeah, I was just talking about this about 2 hours ago with my accountability group, because one of the people was talking about she services clients, and the client, a lot of days, like things just blow up with all these client stuff. And then it's like other things she's trying to get done, she can't get to, because now she's got all these client fires she's putting out throughout the day. And so the advice I really love for people who do client work is to do the stuff for your business first, because At the end of the day, when you're tired and the day's kind of gone off rails a little bit, if you've got client work that needs to get done, you'll find a way to get it done. But when it's your marketing, your stuff, and it's the end of the day and you've had a difficult day, you're gonna blow that right off. And the week can go by, the next week, and you're just never getting the things done for your business. And your business is the one that's got to continue. I mean, clients are going to come and go, but your business has to continue, and you've got to get the stuff for your business done first. So I always tell people, do that first. Like, you don't need to, set your appointments later in the day. Meet with your clients in the afternoon, or maybe, protect up till 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock and do your stuff first. And so that works really well for a lot of entrepreneurs.
Yeah, awesome. So I'm a systems person. That's one of the things I offer in my business is different types of systems to get prospects and close businesses and do email marketing and stuff. And I know that's really big on what you do. Talk to us about how important it is to plug systems into your business and follow them and let them do some of the work for you.
Yes, it is really important. And without that, you kind of become the bottleneck in your own business if you don't put some systems in place, because everything's going to kind of land on your desk and sit there until you get it done. Systems, it's kind of like this little, I don't know, I kind of see it as a little evolution. Like if you're not using any systems, then you're kind of winging it. You're just sort of doing things as they come up, and you're trying to remember, and you're kind of reinventing the wheel all the time. And then as you start to think about, like, as an example, I'll use like bringing on a new client, for example. So you have a new client and there's all these things that you need to do. Maybe they need to sign a contract and you've got a questionnaire and you need to get a password. You need to do this, you need to do that, all these little things. And so when you start to think about the system around that, so first of all, if you actually take time to sit and think about that, so first of all, what it does is it allows you to be more strategic. So now you're actually thinking like, okay, what are all the things that I need to get from them? What are the things that I need to give them? What are all the things I need to happen here? So now you can be really strategic about it. You also now have put this process in place so that as you do it each time, you are no longer reinventing the wheel. You are getting, as you do it over and over, you get more efficient because you're getting better at it every time you do it. It's providing a better experience for your client, because it's not, oh yeah, I forgot about this, and oh yeah, we got to do this, and and coming back to them, in a really kind of broken up fashion. But instead it's like, okay, welcome to my business, and here's this and this, and here's this and this, and I need this, and it's all kind of tied up in a pretty bow. And the other thing that ends up happening once you've kind of looked at it from a systems point of view is now you can start to delegate and automate, and you really can't do that until you have things laid out, because so often people will come to me and they're like, oh, I'm hiring a VA, or I have a VA, but I have no idea what to tell them to do. And that's a sign to me that they haven't really thought about their process, because if you have the process and you have all those steps laid out, then it's really easy to look at and say, all right, there's 7 steps to onboard a client, and I'm going to do the first 3, and I'm going to have you do the next 4. Or if you're automating, and there's a lot of systems that will automate that kind of stuff for you, but you have to have it laid out. Because if you're automating it, it's like, step 1, this, and then it's going to send this, and then it's going to do this. So that's how you kind of start to set yourself up for the delegating and the automating. So, and there's systems like across everything you do. That's one example. The kind of stuff that you work on, all your marketing, there's all sorts of systems around creating, your content and how you're going to schedule your social media and all that kind of stuff. But even how you plan your week or approach your time management, those are all systems. And when you start doing things kind of from that perspective, then you make your life a lot easier and you stop reinventing the wheel on a daily basis. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I worked in corporate for many years, and we had things called standard operating procedures, and all they really was a system that, you literally could hand somebody a document and they could read it and they would understand how to do that process. Yeah. And I think as entrepreneurs, we don't really think about that. We don't think about what are these procedures and processes that I need to do on a weekly, monthly, daily basis, and how can I delegate those so that I'm spending my time being the thought leader in my business and the salesperson in my business, not the the floor sweeper or the organizer, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I think, even when you think at it at its most simplest, like bringing on a new client, even if it's just a checklist, like,
Yeah.
okay, get the contract signed, send the invoice, send them the questionnaire, get their Facebook password, whatever. Like, oh yeah, did that. Good. We're all set. Even it's just you're not having to stress out over what did I remember or forget to do. And like I said, it also provides, in addition to it making you more efficient, it provides a better experience for your client, more professional, smoother. It just sets the tone, it's so.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially that onboarding stuff. It's all about user experience and, make and letting them know that they made the right decision by hiring you.
Yeah.
Right? Even, when someone buy something, sometimes they have buyer's remorse. Like, did I really need to buy this? Well, people have that when they hire you as a consultant or they hire your company to do work for them. So of course you want to eliminate that. And one of the ways to do it is by having that onboarding process that's laid out and making sure all those boxes are checked. So that's brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think as your business grows, the systems become more important because you start, even if you're not hiring employees, even if it's contractors, you're bringing, this team on and people will change over time. And so having those, as you call them, SOPs, that's what I call them too. Having those in place, then you can bring new people in and here's how we do this. And so the transition with people becomes much smoother and you can grow and you can scale your business. I mean, if you're going to rely on you to do everything, you're never going to grow very, very big. Because
right.
I said, everything's going to just kind of land on your desk. And until you get to it, that's it. And how are you going to grow that way? So.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So let's switch this up a little bit. You mentioned this earlier, and I don't want to miss it. I want to go back to this because I think it's really important. We were talking about accountability, and I know you run some accountability groups, and one of my friends has been in one and absolutely loved it. So talk to us about that. Talk to us about why people like it, why people don't like it, and how they are so beneficial to really setting those goals and achieving them.
I think it's really one of the most critical things because I think so many people know what they need to do. It's a matter of actually doing it. And that's where accountability comes in. There's some really interesting statistics around accountability. They say if you tell somebody else that you're going to do something, the odds of you doing it goes up to 65%. And if you have a regular meeting with that person, it goes up to 95%. So it's definitely it's a great strategy to make sure that you're, doing the things that you're going to do. I do run accountability groups, and I also work, with my clients one-to-one on it. But within the group, there's kind of like the front end piece where we are setting the goals and the plans and so forth. But it's that weekly checking in, the tracking. Here's the things that I'm working on. Here's what happened last week. Here's what went well. Here's what didn't go well. I need to tweak this. This isn't working. And you're getting the opportunity to work with other business owners and plus myself as a strategist to kind of help you with that. And so you're getting a lot of feedback and advice on how to kind of really structure what you're doing so that you set yourself up the best possible way to achieve what you're trying to do. I think most people most business owners recognize how important it is. Some people don't want to do it because they don't want to be held accountable. They're like nervous about it. It's scary. Some people get nervous that like they're going to be embarrassed or like made fun of with, in front of other people, which we don't do at all. We're very, very supportive because we all have those days. We all have those weeks. And so, so we don't do that. I do think, it's interesting because I do think that for almost everything, like the accountability is really the piece. It's funny. I talk to people about like, say, courses they're going to take or something. And it's like, people have the best intentions, but it's like, then the follow-up, the staying accountable to what you're going to do is the part that can really trip people up. They know what they're supposed to do. And it's just a matter of making sure it gets done day in and day out and week in and week out and finding the ways to set yourself up to do that. So So the folks in our group, man, the results that these entrepreneurs are creating for themselves has been just amazing to me. But and it's interesting because I think because the other thing I see is so often people come to the group with things that have been on the back burner for a long time. And so it's like, I've been thinking about this program I wanted to develop for years, or I wanted to do this, or I wanted to do that, or, I've never had a system around this. And I always kind of spin my wheels around this or that. And so they come into the program and it's just like, it's getting them to really focus, commit, and spend the time on a weekly basis to do the things that they want to get done in their business.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's awesome. I love the fact that you're doing that and that you actually break them down into 12-week chunks, because I think that gives people the opportunity to really do something that, is meaningful to them as well.
Yeah. It's interesting because 12 weeks, sometimes you think about it and it seems like that doesn't seem very long. And sometimes you think, wow, that's a really long time. And I think it's both. Like, it's long enough to get some really big things done. But again, it's like you can see that goalpost. And so it's like, all right, I got to get going here. I've got to move. And what ends up happening when you do the shorter, the goals like that is over the course of your year, you do get a lot more done because you get the things finished, like stuff that you would just, like things get busy and it's like, well, I'll just let that go. But if you're going to have to show up next week in the group, and even though they're going to be supportive and wonderful, but you're going to have to tell them like either I did or I didn't, you're more apt to do it. And like I said, the other thing too, is that we really work on putting the structure and routines in place to do it. So if somebody's goal is around getting really consistent with their social media, then we spend a lot of time talking about, well, how is this going to work for you? Do you want to sit down every day and write a post? Do you want to do it for the week and write it? Do you want to have some sort of framework? Like, we really figure out what's going to make it work for you. And so that's a big part of what you're doing and what allows you to get it done in the end.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what about, and this kind of dovetails into that, what about people who, this is all well and good. They have the accountability, they have their goals, but they're not very good at managing their time and getting that stuff done. So talk to us a little bit about, I know this is one thing you work on with folks, time management and how to, get better at it.
Yeah. It's a topic I love. So to me, the real crux of time management is intention. It's really about being intentional with your time. And therefore, I think, like, when people ask, like, what's your best time management tip? To me, I tell them, plan your week. I take time out and sit and plan the week. And so we start by looking at the actual time, the time we have, and that's about getting really taking control of your schedule. So being, like we were talking about earlier, about like maybe spending the first part of the day on your business, or about putting boundaries around certain things. So it's about really about being really strategic with how you spend your time. And so now you've got like sort of the container to do it. So that's the first part. And then the second part is, what are you going to put in there? Like, what are you going to actually do? And that's why I like the taking time every week to plan, because what ends up happening so often is, like, you could literally just like sort of crash land into Monday and like go through the entire week doing just whatever pops up. Like, you know what I mean? You get emails, you got a client doing this, you do have this meeting, but you could like literally go all week just responding and reacting to whatever is going on. And you get to the end of the week and you're like, oh yeah, I had this big goal and I didn't do a single thing this week towards that, Yeah. And so when you take time and you're looking at your week and you're like, okay, here's all the things, like, these are my non-negotiables. I have these meetings, I have this work that has to get done. And then I have this, project I'm working on, like I'm trying to, write a book like you're doing, or, maybe you've got, some new program you're putting together or whatever it is. And it's like, all right, this week, what am I going to do? All right, I'm going to spend 4 hours writing my book at some point during this week. Now, when am I going to do that? And this way you make sure that when you're looking at your week, that you can say, all right, here are my goals. And yes, look, I see them in my week, or
Yeah.
if it's a sale, like maybe you've got a big sales goal you're pushing this time of year. And it's like, all right, how do I sell my product? I network with people and talk. Now, do I see that in there? Do I have time for that? Like, do I actually see what I'm trying to do reflected in my week? Because so many people don't, like, they just sort of wait the time. And, that's fine. But like, if you're trying to get somewhere, you're not going to get somewhere if you don't actually take the actions to get there. And so I think, like, if you boil it down to one word, it's all about intention. It's like, what is it you really want to do? And then making it happen. And so that's how I look at time management. I've always been, so I have 5 kids. And so I am like a good person with time management because I had to be, not to lose my mind,
Right.
To kind of get the kids where they're going, and all the things like that. But I always tell people to just really get strategic with how you spend your time, put those boundaries and honor them. Like, you've got to get really good at, saying no and deciding how you're going to spend your time and protecting that, and then decide what is it I want to do during that time. Yeah,
I think that's awesome. When I protect time to write my book, I love that terminology. One of the things I do is I actually put in my calendar like a half hour or 45 minutes to answer email. So I know that when that block comes, I'm going to switch over. I'm going to check my email, and if it doesn't take me that long, great. I have some time back to writing or whatever. But I've scheduled it in there so that while I'm in the writing mode or creation mode, if I'm doing a course or whatever, or even working on client stuff, I'm not worried about, do I need to go check my email, because I blocked that time off.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you can put it in there and then just forget about it until it comes up.
Well, what you just said is exactly it. And that is, so, it's so interesting because so many entrepreneurs will say like, oh my gosh, I work all the time. And I think what it is that they're thinking all the time, because like you said, like when you have that scheduled, you can let it go. So it's not swirling around in your head anymore. Like, oh, when am I going to do this? When am I going to do that? What's in my email? What about that project I didn't do? Where's that even? What's the status of that? I don't even know. But when you put some structure to that and you're like, I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do this, then you can let it go. And it relieves stress and overwhelm and kind of frees you up. And I think that's huge for entrepreneurs, because otherwise, like you end up, people end up thinking that they're working all the time and it's so stressful, and it's because there's no structure and they just never quite know where everything is and they're sort of winging it, and that's what's making it all crazy in their head.
and all that makes it even worse. So Kathleen, this has been awesome to talk. I could keep talking to you for another couple hours about this stuff because we're just on the same page about it. So I just want to thank you so much for being on today. I have your website up here on the screen. Is this the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Yes, absolutely. There's a place right in there they could reach out to me if they want to. So thank you for having me, Ed. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Oh, it's been awesome. And people can find out about your accountability groups and stuff too, because I really want to make sure people know how to lock in on that. So
that's all on my website. So
awesome. Awesome. Great. Well, I'm going to send you backstage and say goodbye to everybody. I'll talk to you in a minute. So
all right.
Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in today. I really appreciate it. Please, if you have any questions for Kathleen, get in touch with her. She obviously knows her stuff. It's been great to have her on here. And of course, I even learned a couple things too. I love that terminology, protect your time. So it's been great. So thanks again for joining us here on Livestream Wednesday.
Thanks for watching Livestream Wednesday. This show is sponsored by ECE Marketing Services. If you would like to acquire more prospects and generate more sales from your website month after month, take a look at our automated business systems at ecemarketingservices.com.